So today what we're going to do, Lisa told you who I am, and I'll add to it that I'm not an expert in cybersecurity, but I am very experienced. I worked most recently with a bank, and of course with a bank, they were constantly hammering on cybersecurity and protecting their customers and their employees. So today we're going to take a look at who the scammer is. We're going to look at scams and social engineering and see how those tie together. We're going to look at the most important, how to protect yourself, and what to do if you do get scammed. And then at the end, I have some great examples that we can take a look at so that we can become familiar with the scams that are out there. So if you are contacted by a scammer, you'll recognize some of the common scams. So who are the scammers? These scammers are highly educated people. They are highly trained. They're working out of large call centers all throughout the world. And most of the scammers are looking to get your money, looking to get information from you so that they can get money, or just plain and simple, get your money. It's true. Now, something to remember is there is a handful of scammers out there that are just looking to see if they can do it. And it could be little Bobby down at the end of the street. He's got his new laptop and he's learned some neat tricks on his computer, and he wants to try out and see if he can sign onto your network. And well, Bobby is just a nuisance. He's not looking for your money. He's just looking to accomplish things. And you say, wouldn't Bobby want money? Well, one of the most famous scammers out there, Kevin Mitnick, he went through his life he never got any financial gain, but his goal, it was almost like a drug to him. He wanted to conquer. He wanted to get into the telephone company system. He wanted to get into the federal system. And Kevin Mitnick goes back easily back to the 80s, I think is when he had most of his fun. And he got caught quite often, and he found himself spending time in small rooms in jail. But he's now taken all of this great knowledge to good, and he is a professional that is helping major companies avoid getting hacked and protecting companies. So he's a white hat now. He's traded in his black hat for a white hat. So who are our scammers? It could be international people. Yes, Mike.
Mark, use the term white hat. Did you say that he's a good guy now? A black hat's a bad guy? A white hat's a good guy?
Yes.
Okay.
That's how I've heard it referred to. So we look at our scammers can be international people, or it could be local people. It could be anybody. It could be a friend, unfortunately. And you need to be alert to anything that just doesn't seem right. We're going to see more about what isn't right in a few minutes. So we've got a couple terms that I'd like to go over. And the first thing is, what is a scam? A scam is a dishonest plan to trick somebody into something that usually involves money. Okay, we can agree with that. Cyber scams are scams that are carried out online. I would agree. And this could be through things like dodgy emails, text messages, websites, fake accounts on social media. And these scammers may contact you through the same avenues, through emails, texts, phone calls, and social media. So we don't know where they're going to be coming from, but they're going to contact you in some way. Now, the other thing is, what is social engineering? It sounds like a fancy term. Social engineering is the manipulation technique used by cyber criminals to trick people in giving up confidential information. Remember, confidential information gets you to the money. Social engineering relies on the basic human instinct of trust. to steal people's personal and corporate information that can be used for future crimes. So social engineering is where the cyber criminals are being trained. They're learning how to build trust with you, get your information, convince you that they are legitimate business people trying to help you. So we have cyber criminals out there. How do we keep ourselves protected? One of the biggest things is keep your devices updated. We all have iPhones, iPads, tablets, laptops, home computers, TVs, lights, thermostats, cameras. Keep all of these different devices updated because some of these updates might bring some great new functions and features, but these updates also bring out additional security to protect you. Keeping up with the updates, sure, it's a pain in the butt. You know, you're typing along or watching your favorite video and the pop-up comes up and says, you need to update this. Okay, you can finish your video and then update when you're finished the video. We're going to see that a lot of these cyber crimes, they're contacting you. And we're going to show you different ways to identify that it could potentially be a scammer. But any contact that you have from anybody, you can ignore their email, you can hang up on them. That's allowed. And call the company or person directly. Somebody calls up and says, hey, this is your granddaughter, and I need money. Is it really? I think I'm going to hang up and I'm going to look up my granddaughter's phone number and call her and see if that was really her. Or your bank calls up and says there's problems with your bank account. You got to do something about this right away, and we need to correct it. And I need you to sign on to your bank account and blah, blah, blah. Hang up on them and call the bank. Trust me, the bank support people are great people. They're very nice, and they're going to help you because they would rather solve your problem before it's a problem than after, because they don't want to see you lose some money, lose identity, or anything like that. So if Amazon calls you or contacts you and says your package is on its way, and you're like, I didn't send a package. Well, put that email aside. Don't click on anything. Don't call a phone number that you see in that email. Go to your account. If you have an Amazon account, go to the account. Look up your orders and take a look and see if you have any bogus orders. And if you do, contact support and have them help.
So Mark, with that, yesterday, I got a fake text message from, it was like someone's trying to be Amazon. Oh, hey, we had a problem delivering your package today. And it's, you know, the first thing is, oh, if I didn't order a package, I know it's a scam. But if I was expecting something, the first thing is, oh man, I give them the wrong address. But then you have to be really careful because they don't usually reach out to you.
Okay. So Mike did bring up a really good point here. He got a text that said package was, they're having difficulty delivering the package. And boy, he wanted to click on that link. Well, first, some of us order an awful lot from Amazon, so you might have some orders ongoing. But you have to think back. Have you had any problems with Amazon at all in the past?
Right.
Has Amazon ever contacted you via a text? Probably not. So I know Amazon's always contacted me via my email. So that's a red flag, and you handled that one right, Mike. but that's a close call.
Mark, there was an urge to want to like, and you know, you gotta resist that urge.
So here again, it just didn't seem right. One thing Mike could have done is jumped in and take a look. Did he have any of his packages being delivered today? Hey, if it's not delivered today, who cares? Maybe we'll get that tomorrow. But he could wait for the end of the day and see if that package is delivered. If the package is not delivered, contact Amazon and say, hey, I did get a text. And most likely Amazon will say, he didn't text you. So.
We know, Mark knows about my thing with that. I got a text from Amazon stating somebody has charged an $899 Canon camera. Please call the fraud recovery. And I did. And I got sucked into this urgent drama.
But I'd like to add, fortunately, you backed out early enough.
Well, my son said, 20 minutes you were on the phone with these people. They probably sucked everything from your phone. But I canceled my American Express. They sent me a new one. They understood. Sending emails to Amazon. You never talk to him.
Yeah, Amazon hides behind email.
And then since then, I've gotten my Bank of America. Your card has been compromised. This is twice. So within 4 months.
Now, was that a legitimate?
Pardon me?
Was that a legitimate communication that your card? It was a false communication from the card company.
I questioned whether I should do it. It said your Bank of America card is compromised. I just deleted it. Then I thought, what if it's legitimate? You do get that feeling. What if they're really?
Okay, so you bring up a really good point that you got swept up in a scam, but fortunately you were able to protect yourself and nothing ill has happened. But follow-up text messages about credit cards being compromised are coming up, and you're thinking, oh, I was scammed. Did they take my credit card number? And now you want to protect yourself further. So they're building on incidences.
Thanks to you. Believe.
Yes.
But I think that these numbers.
And you will. It'll ebb and flow throughout time. The number of scam emails, scam calls, scam text messages will increase from time to time and decrease from time to time, depending on what list you're on.
It could also be people who got systems that are testing. And if the test happens to say, oh, this is a live, then they say, oh, here's live one, and they sell that list and publish. So you're probably getting more hits because they have one list that's untested. They test the list, click on one. Oh, now you are somebody that's susceptible.
We call it sucker.
No, what I'm saying, they probably are selling a hot list instead of just a dead list.
So there's a good point,
Yeah,
Mike. What Mike was saying is that because when you respond to a text message or even pick up the phone and say hello, they know that the phone number or the email address or the text message address is legitimate, and it goes on to an active page. And where you were interacting with the scammer for a period of time, they know that maybe they can pull you in next time. So they're going to keep trying you. Yeah, they got very close.
glad they did.
Well, we go on and we find out one of the most important things that to protect ourselves is nothing is free. And by the way, the Barnstable Police Department are very interested if you do get hacked. They will have you fill out a report, or they'll come out to your house and talk to you about it. And the sergeant that I spoke to said, remind your audience that nothing is free. Everything costs. And I'm going to take a minute here just to say a few more things. The Barnstable Police, of course, won't be able to magically get your money back in most cases, but it allows them to research and maybe shut down the scam center. And he was didn't go into any details, but he said that they had several of our citizens in the community had been called from a scam center in Jamaica. And because the police department started seeing a pattern, they contacted the police in Jamaica, and there was a very good working relationship, and they were able to close it down. Again, it's not going to happen that easy every time, but they are interested and they do want to know. So we go on to say, don't trust anyone and suspect everything. It's the world that we're in. If you have to hang up on a friend and call them back to make sure that it really is your friend, if they're a real friend, they'll understand. And they would expect you to understand if they did the same. Now, we're going to start drilling down a little bit, and we're going to take a look how to analyze an email. I have a sample email. And I'm going to talk through it, so in case you can't see everything, but to each email that you get, you want to approach it as an investigator. You want to investigate the email, and you want to look at all the fields, and you're going to start with the from field. Is this somebody that I would ordinarily communicate with? Do I expect this email from this person? Is this somebody from my job, from my organization, from my knitting club? Do I recognize the name and who it's from? And furthermore, do I recognize after the @ sign? Does that your organization .cnet look correct? Well, I've never seen .cnet before, so this would be a red flag for me. But they did that because mostly it's .net. Well, there's an extra letter in there. It must be okay. No. So you look at the organization. Is that person expected from that organization? Might have your knitting friend before the @ sign and some corporation after the @ sign that doesn't relate. We further go through, are there any unusual characters in the from field? In this case, a suspicious domain. And you continue just to really look at it and make sure that it looks correct. You go to the to field, and you're going to do similar. It should be your name at your organization.com or .net. And if it's a group, is it a group that it's to that I would relate to? Is it my knitting group and everybody in that knitting group? Yeah, I recognize those names, or no, I don't recognize those names. We take a look at the date and time. Is the date realistic? If it's my knitting group, I know my knitting group, they never send me an email on the weekend. Is it the weekend or not? Is the time unusual? I'm sorry, Sally in my knitting group is not going to be up at 3 a.m. sending me text emails. So you evaluate that. We look at the subject field. Is the subject relatable to what's in the body of the document? Then we take a look at the body of the document. And is everything in the body spelled correctly? although the scammers are spelling much better these days. Is it grammatically correct? Again, is it relatable? Is this email even to me? We take a look at the hyperlinks. Now, this is an important one. One of the techniques you can do is you can hover over the hyperlink. You can move your cursor over. And let me show you. I have an example out here. Here in this Wells Fargo email, I've hovered over the hyperlink, which is review recent activity here. And in this case, the hyperlink has nothing to do with Wells Fargo. This is a big red flag. And by the way, in this email, if you take a look in who it's from, Wells Fargo Online, and the email address is from Reliant Rehab. There's a lot wrong with this email. But if you take your cursor and hover over the link, it'll show you that little pop-up and allow you to see where that link's going to bring you.
Mark, that doesn't work on phones though, right? That only works on your computer or your tablet or something?
It does work on the iPhones. I was able to test it on the iPhones.
Okay.
You have to click
Kind of tricky. on the
evaluate
phone,
it.
isn't
Yes, on the phones, it's a little more tricky.
Okay.
Just Google how to hover over link on your phone.
Okay.
Yeah, very good point, Mike. So on the phones and tablets, I did test it out on a tablet, and that was a couple weeks ago. But there is a way. Just Google
Okay.
how to hover, and that's what your Google text should be: how to hover on an iPhone or a Android device. So we'll go back to our.
I think what always gets me, first and foremost, security alert. And you get nervous.
Very good point. And that's what that's called social engineering. They, what the statement or question was in the subject field, they say security alert. Well, that's going to get the hair on the back of your neck to go up. And that's what they're trying to do. That's what the scammers, they want you right from the beginning. Oh my God, I got to look at that email now and create urgency. So yes. So we were looking at it, hyperlinks, attachments. You got to be careful of attachments also. That the hyperlinks and the attachments in a scam email can corrupt your computer, can make your computer unusable, can put a virus on your computer, can download software that the scammers can use. So this is why the hyperlinks and the attachments are so important. So you're looking at this email and there's an attachment. Should there be an attachment? Does Sally at the Knitting Club send attachments? I don't think she even knows how to attach a document.
Sorry.
But this is what you got to think about.
I know. I just don't know why I thought that.
Now, it could, you know, in the Knitting Club, it could be a pattern or something. But if Sally usually sends a pattern, great. Hey, what if you don't know what Sally's going to send you? Could you send her an email and say, hey, Sally, did you send an attachment? I just want to be cyber safe here. And Sally would say, oh, no, I didn't send you an email. Huh, red flag. Or, yes, I did send you a pattern. You might want to check it out. Great. Even with my wife, there's been a scam that is sending my wife emails from me, from my email address. Talk about a difficult one. So my wife will text me because she looks up my number in the contact list and texts my real contact number and says, hey, did you send an email? And I'll say yes or no. So Just because it's to you doesn't mean it's really to you. It's a tough one. So anyway, with your attachments, and you just bottom line, if you are left with any question, any red flag goes up with anything that you've looked at, delete it. Contact whoever it was or who you think it was from a number or an email address or a chat session from that person or company's website or from your contact list. So we have our email, and yeah, if you just delete it. So that's a fun topic. Analyzing an email. So that analyzing the email should take you 15 seconds, 20 seconds. I think we can all spare 15, 20 seconds per email to make sure it looks somewhat legitimate.
And I thought, this is something right about it. I didn't at what time this.
Okay, so the what was just said was the person received an email from Comcast about passwords, and she evaluated the body of the email very carefully and found a misspelled word. Well, another thing, and I can share this right away because it is common, people trying to get passwords from you. The different vendors, they have a tool to recapture a password. If you forget your password, you click on forget password. That's how they handle passwords. They don't need to know your password. Nobody needs to know your password except you or a person that you wish to know your passwords.
So what do you do? Forget your password.
Okay, if you forget a password, you click on the, usually you have user ID, password, and under that it says, click here if you forgot your password or forgot password. You just click there. And what it will do is either ask for security questions that you have arranged on your account, or it will text you or call you on a predetermined phone number, a code. So you go in and it will say, once you click that, it will take care of sending you to either type these answers in or send the special code, and you will type in your password, new password twice. And then you look at your phone, your text message, and it will be a 4 to 6 digit number, maybe 8 digit. And you'll type that in and press enter. And now that your password has been reset. And what they're thinking there is two-factor authentication. That's what two-factor is. First factor is you know your email address or your user ID. Your second factor is you own the phone that's connected and you can sign on to that phone to get the code. So two factors. You have your computer in front of you and your phone next to you. It can be done on the same device, but it's proving that you can sign on to the phone that they're texting to. So I'm going to go on to passwords. Passwords, it's something none of us like, but it's a necessary evil. First thing is creating passwords. We just talked about two-factor. Some of the companies, and actually a lot of the companies, allow you to set up two-factor authentication where you will have a user ID and password, and it will send a code out to your phone, and then you have to type that in. Two-factor authentication is awesome for things that deal with money, your bank accounts, your investment accounts would be a good one. Your stores, anywhere you want a little bit extra protection. Does it take longer to get into those sites? Of course, because it's one more step, but you're getting the protection. Now, remember your passwords. Yes, they do.
And then it does give you the option to say, remember this device. And Mark, what's your recommendation on checking off that box to remember this device?
Remember this device or remember this password.
What's your recommendation?
Okay, the question is, what is my recommendation on checking the box to remember my password or remember the device? You're bypassing some of the security. So depending on the level of security or level of risk you would have with that account, if it's my bank account, I don't want you to remember anything. If it's my Twitter account, I don't see a reason why I'd be concerned. Not too much money being passed over Twitter. A lot of nasty comments being passed over Twitter, but
So the players say, don't check that.
I don't. You also have the ability to remember password, and that's a whole nother class, because remember password on a Google web page or on a Chrome web browser, Google now has your password. They're supposed to not be able to read it, but make sure your passwords are long. What's a long password? It's a heck of a lot more than 4 characters. 8 characters is better, 10 is better. If it allows you 20 is even better. You have to get a balance of what's realistic. And don't use words or known dates. Just a real quick story. When I started in computers in '88, one of my jobs was updating people's PCs or devices. These were terminals at the time. And I worked in the morning before anybody came in. So I would come in and get a bunch of work done in the morning, and I'd sit down at someone's device and it's like, oh, I got to sign on as them to do this update. So I knew what their user IDs were. And then I sat there and said, okay, what's their dog's name? I'd type that in. No, what? Oh, they got kids. I'd type their kids' names in and usually get a hit on that. So they can be guessed.
That was in the Marine Corps. Turn the keyboards over. And on the back side was a yellow sticky that had the first password on it.
Okay, one of my pet peeves, I have been a help desk person for quite a while. Your password is not written on the bottom of your keyboard. Because that's the first place I'm going to look.
Right.
Another story is back in the 80s, early 90s, there was a camera panning across a beautiful IBM data center, raised floors, fire suppression, beautiful boxes with flashing lights and terminals all over the place, and a yellow sticky taped to the side of the terminal with user ID and password. And this film was being used as a commercial. There was one less person working for IBM. So yeah, we do not post our user IDs and passwords anywhere that can be easily accessed. And known dates, same thing. If somebody knows when your birthday is, or anniversary or favorite date. So one of the things that I was told was come up with a phrase and use the first letter of each word in the phrase. See the red ball bounce and use the first letter in each of those words, or the second letter or third letter. And then maybe a special character, but be careful with special characters. Dollar signs and ampersigns are really good, but occasionally some of the like an ampersand, or not ampersand, an asterisk or a star sometimes isn't accepted. Just want to throw that warning out. So if you're getting rejected that your password's not right and you're like, why not? Well, try a different special character. The next thing is where to store the passwords. I'd like to say store them right up here in your head, but that's not going to work. We know that we have just the average person has probably 50 passwords, if not 100. And then your professionals could have upward of several hundred. Now there's things called password vaults. Mike, can you think of a password vault?
Yeah, we just started using one at work called Keeper.
Keeper is one. LastPass.
Not the one.
Yeah, I discontinued it because it wasn't saved. So you have these applications, apps that are storing passwords out on the network. It sounds like Mike's using one that would probably be internal to the company to protect it. But that's an enterprise package. So there are, like LastPass, you can store your user ID and password out on the cloud. Well, if they get victimized by a cyber scammer or a hacker, and all of a sudden this person that's somewhere else in the country can access the cloud and access all your passwords. Oh, that's frustrating.
Now, I bought a little book that's stapled. How is that more secure?
Okay, what was just asked was, how is writing down your passwords and storing them at your house more secure? Well, instead of being out on the password vault where billions and billions of people can access it, your passwords are sitting at home now, possibly in your own safe at home. The person sitting in Russia or Canada or down in the Cayman Islands, they're not going to drive out to your house and get your password. So the only people that are going to get your password are the ones that break into your house. And the chances of that are slim. And of course, you're not sitting there with your passwords taped up to the refrigerator. You have them aside somewhere, or better yet, sitting in a safe. Because I'm the person presenting this, you can put it in the safe. We know we're not going to do that, but you put it in a secure place. You don't leave it laying around. You don't leave it even sitting on your dining room table that you have a vendor come in or service person come in and walk by and just shove that in their pocket as they walk by. So you protect that book because it's important. You could even go as far as putting in a bank safety deposit box if you don't have too many passwords. Yes.
I have mine in a file that says computer.
Mhm.
I just said, I know, that's not smart. Have it in a file, give it a different name that I will know.
Correct. Or put it on a thumb drive and keep it off your computer.
I have it.
Oh, in a file, in one of these files. Absolutely. No, yeah. So what the question statement was the person has their passwords in a old-fashioned file drawer in a file folder called computers. Yeah, that's your seed catalog or your flowers.
Yeah.
Also, you're offered by all these different browsers to save your web browsers or applications to save the password on the fly. the most safe thing to do is not to save it, because it's putting it out on the cloud where other people could potentially access it. Again, we're talking about the risk versus safety versus labor. It's a formula that you have to work on yourself. So what do we were just talking about where to store. Oh, if you are incapacitated, let somebody else know where your passwords are. And it's a good discussion for people that you're responsible for to know where their passwords are. Far too many stories about not being able to access information, pictures, money, because the loved ones that are caring for the incapacitated person can't get into those accounts. And you can't just call up the bank and say, oh, the owner of that bank account is incapacitated. I need to get into it. No. Much bigger deal. Yes, it can be done, but it won't be until it goes through a lot of channels. We need to be more aware watching the news. If you hear that a company's been breached, you see a news article that says Home Depot has been breached by hackers, and you have a Home Depot account, go out and change your password, period. Keep an eye on that account to make sure that nothing's being charged to you or anything, but immediately change your password if there's been a breach. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, the question is, gentleman received an email that said that his Apple account is full, memory is full. That is probably not a scam, and you will need to take a look at what is being stored in the cloud. There are, again, Google, iPhone storage. Little busy, but try first by Googling full memory, whatever the email says, and follow those instructions, because it's a matter of going into your account and enlarging at a higher cost. Apple comes with, I think, a certain amount free, and then it has another tier at a reasonable amount of money.
Just going into
No, I take again, look in settings, look at memory and see if it says that you're full.
Right, you could read the email, but not click on anything inside the email, and then log into your iCloud. Say, oh, do I have, is my storage almost full based on what the login says? Not trusting the email. Then it's like, yeah, you're at 86%. Usually, don't they usually indicate that by something red or whatever? I don't know. I'm not an Apple user, so.
But do not click on anything in that email.
Right.
And that's a good point. No matter what the email is, even though this might be a legitimate email, good chance, but go outside the email to find your links, to find your information. You can read the email all you want. Just don't click on anything in there or use any information in there, because you could end up contacting a scammer. Couple other password pieces. You can have different user IDs for different accounts. For example, I'd like to have a different user ID for my bank accounts. So I might be mark@yahoo.com for all of my social media accounts, but I am Mark Braman at yahoo.com for my bank accounts, just to change it up. And that also reminds me, don't use the same password for every site. Have a different password for every site. I won't give away who it was, but a young lady told me about all the social media accounts that she had. And I wanted to talk to her about what she did for her passwords and user IDs. And she said, well, just use the same password and same user ID for every account. Well, the scammers know that people do that, and they will try to use mark@yahoo and the same password that they figured out on my bank account, on my social media, on my Amazon account, and just continue on. So you need to put some stops out there for these scammers and make it harder for them. So yeah, and you can also change up your user ID for some sites. So a few more things. I'm going to go through these things rather quick. Is do not download anything like something called AnyDesk or TeamViewer. If a scammer asks you to download something or somebody asks you to download something onto your computer, just say no. What AnyDesk or TeamViewer is doing is giving them a tool so that they can be on your computer and control your keyboard and mouse and see your screen. So only if you know the person that's asking would you download. If it's a person that normally does your tech support and is asking you to download something, by all means.
Like you called Mark, and you said, I want you to download TeamViewer so I can see your screen. You could probably trust Mark. But if it's somebody else.
Yes, I am trustworthy. Do not forward spam. So if you're talking to somebody, it's like, I don't know if this email's spam or not, or from a hacker or not. Don't go spreading the email around. Keep it to yourself, especially if you're calling the bank or you're calling your investment firm. Those support people know what you're talking about in 3 words. They've seen the emails before. They've talked to people about the emails. They know what to do about them. They don't need to get them. Here's a pet peeve. Always log your devices off when you're away from your computer. So many people want to argue with me, but if your computer's logged off, people can't access your computer, including the plumber who you decided to go out and water your plants, and the plumber is working on fixing a pipe, and they walk past your computer and you accidentally left your bank account up. They can quickly put $1 million in the from field and put their bank account number in the to field and press enter, and it's gone. So log it off. Do not text or email private information. If you're contacting your bank, you don't have to supply your bank with a account number. They already know the account number. You may want to share an account number or credit card number, the last 4 digits, just so that you know that you're communicating and working on the same account number. Important that you do not send secure stuff over unsecured Wi-Fi. If you're sitting in Starbucks and you're on Starbucks Wi-Fi, it's not secure. You're sitting in the hospital and you're on the hospital's Wi-Fi, that is not secure. A hacker or a scammer could be sitting on that same Wi-Fi and see the data going across the line. I don't know how to do that, but I'm told that they can. So a secure Wi-Fi is one that needs a password. So if you're at the hospital and you're an employee, You may be given a secure Wi-Fi to sign on to as an employee. The open Wi-Fi, anybody can just be on. There is no password. Your most secure is your home Wi-Fi. Usually your employer's Wi-Fi will be very secure, but be careful on even the library's general Wi-Fi. They very nicely supply Wi-Fi here at the library, but don't be conducting your banking on it. You may want to Google a word or something to find a definition. That's fine, but you don't want to be running your monthly bills or in and out of your bank account. Okay, and then the final one, always read what you're clicking. You know, did I just click on send $1 billion or look at my account? Make sure that you know exactly what you're clicking on and take the time to read the message that's there. And if the message doesn't make sense, look it up. Again, I'm a tech support person, but I don't know the answers to every question and every screen and every error message. I have to look them up. And by looking them up, you can get a gist of what the message is. You know, is it sound serious? Does it not? You certainly can read a few people's opinions on it, and then you can judge whether it's a good message or not. But always read what you're clicking on. Now, a few more things, real important. I kind of touched on this earlier. Don't be embarrassed if the scammers catch you and you get caught by a scam. These are professional people. These scammers are trained day in and day out how to get one by on you. And the only way we're going to beat the scammers is sharing our stories, coming to class like this and learn, read about different scams, and stay educated. Now, some of the biggest red flags on scams are, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. They're pressuring you to do something right now. Again, that comes under the social engineering. Hurry up, we got to get this fixed right now, or, oh my God, it's going to just cost you so much money. They will really pressure you. Asking for too much personal information, you know how much information you should be giving out. And if it seems like it's too much, put a stop to it. This sounds like too much. You got to the point where it was just too much. Too much information was being shared, and you're like, no, I don't want to give that information out, and you stopped it in time. So you were watching those red flags. If they ask you to pay in unusual ways, if they ask you to use Bitcoin, I doubt this audience is using Bitcoin today. Gift cards, digital currency. This is all money laundering techniques so that they can bypass international banking rules. And one I didn't include here, and I watched a video on it. They asked the person to put $10,000 in a box, wrap it like a Christmas present, and send it. We don't do that. There's banking, checks, direct deposits to take care of things like that. We don't put money in boxes, that much at least. And if whoever's on the phone cannot give you documentation, they cannot give you a receipt, they cannot give you the details of an investment, they can't give you details of a product, they can't email something to you, it could be a scam.
Yeah, that would be a good point to say, feel that pressure. Give me your phone number, let me call you back.
You know, I know that when it happens to you, there's some panic stricken. It happened to my daughter. She was in grad school, and she said it was just so real. These people pressuring her. you know, and she didn't have any money. She basically emptied out her bank account. And it was until like it was all over that she realized this was a scam.
So what you're saying is the pressure.
So real. And it was so like identifying, you know, the drama that went on with it.
So what you're saying is the pressure was so real and everything seemed so legit and they were hurrying her up and she didn't realize that it was a scam until after the money was cleared out of her account. And that is the thing. That is why you're sitting here, being educated and hearing a couple of these things to prepare you to say no. And the education is the best defense on the cyber scams. And certainly as you leave this class today, share what you learned with friends and family. So yeah, that's a shame. You were telling me the story in the beginning, and that is a shame that she got caught up in it.
It's ironic how she wanted to work in cybersecurity for all these computer companies.
So we have a couple more things. Some people will say, well, I have virus protection and a VPN, which is a virtual private network. A virtual private network allows you to set up an environment that protects you quite a bit more. Sorry, tech support in me. This cord does not look too happy. Let me make one adjustment here and see if that'll take care of it. And I'll talk fast. So a VPN creates an environment that protects your computer a little bit more. This is not going to protect you from cyber criminals. Cyber criminals are talking to you and they're telling you what to do. Virus protection and VPNs will not, or any type of protection software is not going to protect you from a scammer, because that software is not going to protect you from putting money into a box and sending it off to them. And then, as we've been saying all along, continue to read and educate yourself about scams. The news articles that are out in the news is just not for some computer nerdy people. I read them, but I'm a computer nerdy person. You need to read about cyber crimes and to stay current and to educate yourself with what's out there. Now, what to do if you are scammed? Now, Pat shared with us, she did call her bank and credit cards, specifically her credit card companies, and the credit card company is very prepared. The bank is very prepared, and they can shut down your account and give you new account numbers very quickly, very easily, and alert them that you have been scammed. Another thing, if you feel the scam is really bad, consider a fraud alert or a security freeze with the 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and that will protect you from the scammer opening new lines of credit, opening mortgages, taking loans under your name. I said that the local police department will want you to contact them, and they'll send an officer out to take your statement. It's important that you get your incident logs so that insurance can help you. If a vendor is saying, well, you haven't logged a incident with the police, so is this really a scam or not? It'll help you recover